Hi guys, my name is Johan from restoration.bike, and in this video I'm going to give you a couple of things to consider before buying the Cane Creek eeSilk carbon seat post. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I also have a Facebook group for like-minded people who are into bike restorations, and you're welcome to join that group with the help of the link in the description below. The eeSilk is a suspension seat post I bought based on my own research into the subject matter, and I was actually looking for a regular carbon seat post. So I finally decided upon the Cane Creek eeSilk carbon seat post to replace a Kalloy Uno SP-248, and I consider the Kalloy Uno to be one of the best budget-friendly aluminium mountain bike seat posts. And the eeSilk is definitely not budget friendly. It's like any premium suspension seat post. It's expensive, and this version is very expensive at a retail price of $200. And the carbon version sets you back an extra $100 at $300, and it tops my list as the most expensive suspension seat post in the world. So what exactly is it you're buying when you lay down this amount of money? An amount for something many would consider a simple requirement to attach a saddle to a frame. Well, the Cane Creek eeSilk carbon seat post is a suspension seat post that works with a 4-pivot parallelogram linkage system. I have to look that up if I pronounce it correctly. Probably not, but you have to forgive me for that. So the suspension is achieved by putting an elastomer in between the linkage system. And there are 5 different elastomers ranging from extra soft to extra hard to achieve the desired travel based on the rider's weight. And the seat post comes with medium version for riders ranging between 68 and 90 kilograms. And since I'm 85, it worked for me. And the carbon version of the eeSilk replaces the standard aluminium post with a unique looking glossy carbon post, which is 25 millimeters longer. And I would have preferred a carbon weave to match the AX Lightning's Phoenix saddle and Spinergy wheels I have, but you can't have everything. And the post scratch is extremely easy, so be sure you know how far you want to put it in the seat tube to prevent visible scratch damage. And the rear of the seat post has white dots running down it to make it easier to set the correct saddle height. And just as the regular version, it has stainless steel pivot axles, but the seat clamp thumb wheel is titanium. And together with the carbon post, this causes a weight reduction of 50 grams, making it the only sub 300 grams linkage system suspension seat post I know, with 295 grams. And the eeSilk is meant for bicycle saddles with 7 millimeter rails. Unfortunately, I didn't know that up front. So it meant I ran into trouble with the 8 millimeter rails from the Phoenix saddle. At first, I just used the seat post as is, but considering the price of the carbon saddle and its rarity, I decided to protect the rails against the bite of the eeSilk saddle clamp. I don't know if it's a term that exists, but I decided to create 8 millimeter brass bicycle rail shims. And with the shims in place, either the clamp will break or the bolt will snap before the incredibly strong carbon rails will damage. And I'm not going to try that out though. And the Cane Creek carbon seat post offers a maximum of 20 millimeters of travel, and that's at the lowest end of any linkage seat post. Their Cane Creek Thudbuster LT offers almost 5 times as much with 90 millimeters. And the insulation of a bike saddle is just an absolute nightmare, especially compared to the single bolt clamp system of the Kalloy Uno, which can hardly get any better. It's difficult to move the saddle rails in between the 2 halves of the clamp. I probably did it wrong and removed the rear bolt to get the saddle in place. And getting the bolt back in place simply sucks, and then getting everything tightened up sucks even more. And the top half of the clamp has a tendency to sit further back than the lower half, which looks kind of stupid. And since the front bolt is tightened with a wheel that sits in between the saddle and the clamp, you effectively only have one bolt to set the saddle tilt. And this means you constantly have to loosen the rear bolt, turn the wheel, tighten the rear bolt, check the angle, and repeat this process because you're probably off by a couple of degrees. And this painstaking process of getting your cell on top of the post and with the correct angle is far from user-friendly and kind of detracts from the premium feel of the seat post. And the thing looks amazing when finished, but you know it's a to get through that place. So what exactly does the Cane Creek eeSilk seat post do besides look good on my Killer V? So a lot of linked seat posts are just dead ugly, and besides the almost twice as heavy redshift shock stop, which also squarely focuses on design, the eeSilk is an extremely tidy package for a linked seat post, and also the best looking, if you ask me. Cane Creek specifically states not to use the suspension to try and overcome, big potholes. With 20 millimeters of travel, you can hardly argue that the eeSilk is meant to add rear suspension to your bike. And the eeSilk is meant to smoothen your run on a relatively uneven road, pavement, or hard pack. And it does this exceptionally well. The great thing about the eeSilk is that you don't notice the suspension until you need it. And this means you don't have a bounce to your cadence, which ensures an efficient power transfer to the pedals. It's a tough stretch to state that the Cane Creek eeSilk carbon seat post warrants a 30x price increase from a $10 Kalloy Uno to a $300 eeSilk. But for what it's supposed to do, it does almost everything right. It has great design, quality engineering, working correctly, and hopefully long-lasting. Apart from the missing carbon weave and the horrific installation process, I'm happy that I spent the money to obtain this rare piece of bicycle kit for my retro MTB build. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and don't forget to join the Facebook group. I have the link in the description below. And if you have any questions about this seat or any other questions about bike restoration or bike repair, be sure to ask them in the group. And I hope I can welcome you again for the next video. Bye for now.